Good morning, good Erev Shabbos. Special greetings to our soldiers at Fort Jackson, to everybody watching our video. It has been said that what makes a great leader is the ability to tell a particular kind of story, one that explains ourselves to ourselves and gives power and resonance to a collective vision. So Churchill told the story of Britain's indomitable courage, Gandhi spoke about the dignity of India, nonviolent protest, and Martin Luther King told of how a great nation is colorblind. Stories give the group a shared identity and a sense of purpose. It is through these stories that we learn who we are and how we are called on to behave. If we deprive our children of stories, we leave them unscripted, anxious stutterers in their action as in their words. The great questions, who are we, why are we here, what is our task, are best answered by telling a story. This is fundamental to understanding why Torah is a series of interlinked stories extended over time, from Abraham and Sarah's journey to Moses' and the Israelites' wanderings in the desert. Judaism is about truth as a story. And we are part of that story. That is what it means to be a Jew. In the book of Devarim, the book of Deuteronomy, Moshe is retelling that story to the next generation, reminding them of what God had done for their parents and of some of the mistakes that their parents had made. Now, Moses is the supreme storyteller, and in this week's Torah portion, Ki Tavo, he tells the people that when they enter, conquer, and settle in the land, they must bring the first ripened fruits to the temple as a way of giving thanks to God. The Torah describes the joyous scenes as people converged on Jerusalem from across the country, bringing their first fruits with music and celebration. Then each person made a recap of our history, ending with the well-known line, "God brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm." Here, for the first time, the retelling of the nation's history becomes an obligation for every citizen of the nation. Jews were commanded to become a nation of storytellers, the acknowledgement of God as the master of history. Jews were the first people to write history, yet biblical Hebrew has no word for history. It uses the word zachor, memory. History is his story, what happened to somebody else at another time. Memory is my story. It is the past internalized and made part of my identity. Each person must see themselves as if he or she, went out of Egypt. Throughout the book of Deuteronomy, Moses warns the people not to forget. If they forget the past, they will lose their identity and direction, and disaster will follow. We are also commanded to hand that memory on to our children, making every one of us a guardian of that story. It's not the leader alone or some elite who are trained to recall the past, but every one of us. The great leaders tell the story of the group, but the greatest of leaders taught the group to become a nation of storytellers. By making the Israelites a nation of storytellers, Moses helped turn them into a people bound by a collective responsibility to one another, to the past, and the future, and to God. By framing a narrative that successive generations would make their own and teach to their children, Moses turned the Jewish people into a nation of storytellers. America also has a national story because it is a society based on the idea of a covenant, the property of all of its citizens, newcomers as well as those born here. It says to everyone, regardless of class or creed, this is who we are, creates a sense of common identity that transcends our other identities. Maybe it's time to remind ourselves and each other of that story before it's forgotten. Have a wonderful Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.